I never believed in ghosts. I thought hauntings were just stories, things people told themselves to explain the unexplainable. That was before I moved into Blackwood House. It was an old Victorian home, isolated on the edge of a quiet town, the kind of place with history in its walls. I got it for a steal, too good to be true, really. The realtor was eager to sell, muttering something about turnover rates, but I didn't care. I needed a fresh start. The first few days were peaceful. I unpacked, wandered the creaky hallways, admired the intricate woodwork, but on the fourth night, I woke to a sound, a faint scratching, soft, persistent, coming from inside the walls. At first, I blamed mice. Old houses had pests, right? But then I heard it again, a whisper. Too low to make out, I pressed my ear against the wall. Silence. I shook it off. Maybe I was imagining things. But the house wasn't done with me yet. The noises didn't stop. They got worse. Every night between 3 and 3:15 a.m., I heard them. A rhythmic tapping, followed by that same low whispering. I told myself it was pipes, the wind, anything but what I feared. Then objects started moving. Small things at first. A book I'd left on the coffee table would be on the floor in the morning. Cabinets cracked open on their own. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I caught movement in my peripheral vision. The bedroom mirror. I turned, but there was nothing. Just my reflection. But something about it felt wrong. The glass looked darker, deeper, like it wasn't reflecting this room, but somewhere else. I covered it. That night, the scratching turned into knocking, and I heard my name. Come out! I was done pretending nothing was wrong. The next day, I searched the house, checking every wall. Then, in the upstairs hallway, I noticed something strange. A thin seam in the wallpaper, almost invisible. I pulled at it. The old paper crumbled away, revealing a door. A hidden door I had never noticed before. My stomach turned as I reached for the knob. It was ice cold. I hesitated, then twisted it open. Inside was a narrow crawl space. Dark, stale air rushed out, thick with the scent of dust and something else. Something rotting. And on the walls, there were handprints, dozens of them, small, childlike, pressed into the old wood, smeared like something or someone had been clawing to get out. Then I saw it. In the farthest corner of the crawl space, a tiny wooden chair, and in it, a doll. Old, hand-stitched, its eyes were made of real human teeth. I ran. I needed answers. The next morning, I went to the town archives. The librarian gave me a look when I mentioned the house. A long, knowing look. You should leave that place. Then she handed me an old newspaper. The headline sent chills through me. Family vanishes in Blackwood House, only child found unharmed. I read through the article. 30 years ago, a family had lived there. A mother, a father, a little boy named Ethan. One night, the parents disappeared without a trace. No sign of struggle. Nothing stolen. Just gone. Ethan was found alone in the house, sitting in the crawl space. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't move, just sat there, clutching a handmade doll. A doll with human teeth for eyes. I slammed the paper down. My skin crawled. The whispers, the knocking, the hidden door. Ethan had seen something in that house, and whatever it was, it never left. I should have left. I should have run, but something kept me there. I needed to know the truth. That night I sat in my room, waiting. 3 a.m., the scratching started. 3:05 a.m., the whispers. 3:10 a.m., the mirror uncovered. I swear I didn't touch it, but the sheet was on the floor, and in the reflection I saw movement, something behind me. I turned. Nothing was there. But the mirror still showed it, a figure standing in the doorway, tall, motionless. Then it moved. It stepped closer, but only in the mirror. My body wouldn't move. My breath caught in my throat. Then, just as it reached the glass, it smiled and whispered in a voice that wasn't mine, "I see you now. The lights exploded, darkness swallowed the room, and something touched my shoulder. I don't remember running, I don't remember grabbing my keys, but I remember the cold and the whispers laughing. I never went back to Blackwood House. I left everything behind, but I still see them. In mirrors, in windows. I feel them watching, waiting. And every night at 3:10 a.m., I hear them whisper my name, scratching, knocking, laughing, because once they see you, they never stop watching. Some houses are just houses, but some are more than wood and stone. Some hold on to the past. Some remember. Some never let go. If you ever hear scratching in the walls, if you ever find a door that shouldn't be there, whatever you do, don't open it. And if you see something in the mirror that isn't you, run! Ethan Cole didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in demons, curses, or anything supernatural. He was a man of logic, a real estate agent specializing in foreclosures. But as he stood before the Blackwood house, something in his gut told him to turn around and leave. The mansion was old, abandoned for decades. It loomed over him, its blackened windows staring like dead eyes. Ivy crawled up the stone walls, and the front door, painted an unnatural shade of black, stood slightly ajar. His job was simple: inspect the property before listing it for sale. There had been stories, of course. The previous owners, the Westcotts, had vanished in 1978. No bodies were found. The family before them, same fate. Blackwood House had a history of people disappearing without a trace. Still, Ethan shook off his nerves and stepped inside. The air was thick, stale. Dust coated every surface, and old furniture sat covered in white sheets, like ghosts waiting to be uncovered. The house had electricity, but when he flipped the switch, nothing happened. Figures, he muttered, pulling out a flashlight. He moved room to room, making notes. Despite the eerie silence, it felt like someone was watching him. Then, he heard it. He froze. The voice was faint, barely audible, but it was there. He swept his flashlight around. Nothing, just empty hallways and peeling wallpaper. He forced a laugh. Old houses creak, that's all. But as he moved toward the staircase, he noticed something strange. The black door at the end of the hall. It wasn't on the floor plan. It didn't belong. Ethan walked towards it. The closer he got, the heavier the air became, thick with something wrong. He reached out and touched the door. It was ice cold, a whisper. Closer this time. Don't open it. His heart pounded, but he was a rational man. Doors didn't whisper. With a deep breath, he twisted the handle and pushed it open. Beyond the black door was a staircase spiraling downward into complete darkness. A basement? There was no record of one. He pointed his flashlight down. The steps seemed endless. Something told him to turn back, run, leave, sell the house and forget this place existed. But he didn't. Because at the bottom of the stairs, something moved. A flicker of motion. A shape crawling toward him. Ethan stumbled back. His flashlight flickered, the beam catching glimpses of something human-like, but wrong. Its limbs were too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, its mouth stretched into a grin full of blackened teeth, and it was whispering his name. Ethan turned and ran. The whispering grew louder, rising to a shriek. The house shook. The walls pulsed like living flesh. He sprinted up the stairs, but they seemed to stretch longer. The black door was getting further away. Then, a hand grabbed his ankle. Ice-cold fingers, a grip like iron. He kicked, scrambling, pulling himself up, just as the black door slammed shut behind him. The house went silent. He was back in the hallway, gasping for breath. But something was different. The wallpaper looked newer. The dust was gone. And when he ran to the front door and flung it open, the street outside was different. The houses were newer. The cars were decades ahead of what he remembered. He turned to a mirror hanging by the staircase and screamed. The reflection staring back wasn't his. It was Ethan Cole, but older. His face was lined, his hair streaked with gray. He had aged 40 years in the span of minutes. No one believed him. The world had moved on. His parents were dead, his friends were gone, and according to every record, Ethan Cole had disappeared inside Blackwood House in 1984. But he remembered stepping inside today, not 40 years ago. The house had taken his time. No one else would believe him, but he knew the truth. So, when Blackwood House went back on the market, Ethan did the only thing he could. He became its real estate agent, and when he showed it to potential buyers, he made sure to warn them, whatever you do, never open the black door.